Imagine an engine that's absolutely perfect, flawless. One that takes heat and turns every last possible bit of it into useful motion, with zero waste. It's the ultimate engine. The only catch? It's impossible to actually build. But this beautiful, impossible idea happens to be one of the cornerstones of physics, and it's the key to understanding pretty much every engine ever made. So let's get right into it. How do we get engines to turn heat into motion? I mean, this question literally powers our entire world. Your car, the power plant that keeps the lights on, we're constantly turning heat into useful work. But what's really going on under the hood? How do we take something as chaotic as heat and wrangle it into organized movement? Well, it turns out the secret isn't about the heat itself. It's about how that heat moves. Way back in the 1820s, a French engineer named Carnot had this incredible light bulb moment. He realized that to get any work out of heat, you need one crucial thing, a difference in temperature. And he came up with this brilliant analogy. Think of a waterfall. The power you can get from it doesn't depend on how much water is in the river, right? It depends on the height that the water falls. Carnot said heat works the exact same way. Its power, its motive power, comes from it falling from a hot place to a cold place. Okay, so to perfectly capture this fall of heat, Carnot designed a purely theoretical process. It's a perfect, four-step cycle that would, in an ideal world, squeeze out the absolute maximum amount of work possible. Now, this isn't a blueprint for a real machine you can build in your garage. It's a thought experiment, one that shows us the fundamental limits of the universe. So let's walk through it. The whole thing starts with some gas in a cylinder. For step one, we put that cylinder in contact with something really hot. Let's call it the hot reservoir. The gas soaks up that heat and starts to expand, pushing on a piston and doing work for us. Now, the crucial part here is that this happens isothermally, which is just a fancy way of saying we do it so slowly that the gas stays at that constant hot temperature the whole time. All right, step two. We now perfectly insulate the cylinder. No more heat can get in or out. The gas, which already has some momentum, keeps expanding. But since it's still doing work, still pushing that piston, and it's not getting any more heat energy from the outside, it has to use its own internal energy to do it, and that makes it cool down. This is called an adiabatic expansion, and we let it go until the gas cools all the way down to the temperature of our cold reservoir. For step three, we bring the cylinder over to a cold reservoir. Think of it as a giant ice block. Now, we start doing work on the gas, pushing the piston back in and compressing it. As we squeeze it, the gas creates waste heat, but because it's touching the cold reservoir, all that heat just flows right out, keeping the gas at a constant cool temperature. That's our isothermal compression. And for the grand finale, step four, we insulate the cylinder one more time and keep on compressing the gas. Now, with nowhere for the heat to escape, all the work we're putting in gets trapped inside, raising the gas's internal energy. Its temperature and pressure shoot way up. And we stop at the exact moment it gets back to its original starting temperature and pressure. And boom, this cycle is complete, ready to start all over again. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat little theoretical puzzle, but this is where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just some clever idea for an engine that doesn't exist. What Carnot stumbled upon was something much, much deeper. It was a fundamental, unbreakable law of the universe. Here is the crucial takeaway. This cycle isn't just a good idea. It is the absolute, hands-down, best possible way to do it. No engine, real or imaginary, that anyone could ever dream up can be more efficient than this one. The Carnot cycle is the universe's absolute speed limit for turning heat into work, period. And of course, this idea gets a formal name, Carnot's theorem. And it's a really profound statement. It basically says it doesn't matter what you build your engine out of. Air, steam, mercury vapor, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how clever your design is. If your engine is working between the same hot and cold temperatures, you can never beat the efficiency of Carnot's perfect imaginary cycle. It's the ultimate ceiling. And the formula for this maximum efficiency is, well, it's just beautiful. It's shockingly simple. It has nothing to do with pressure or volume or the materials you use. The efficiency depends only on the absolute temperatures of your hot reservoir and your cold reservoir. That's it. The bigger the difference in temperature, the greater that fall of heat, the more efficient your engine can possibly be. That's the law. Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, which immediately begs the question. If we know the blueprint for the perfect engine, why aren't we all driving around in cars with Carnot engines? Well, this is the part of the story where the clean, elegant world of theory slams right into the messy world of reality. See, building a real Carnot engine is flat out impossible for a few big reasons. For those isothermal steps to work perfectly, you'd have to run them infinitely slowly. So a single cycle would take forever, which means you'd produce zero power. Not very useful. You'd also need materials with absolutely no friction, which don't exist. And you'd need the ability to instantly switch between being a perfect insulator and a perfect conductor of heat. The real world, with all its friction and heat leaks, just doesn't work that way. So the perfect engine is impossible. A beautiful dead end, right? Well, not quite. Because it turns out that chasing this impossible dream, trying to get as close as you can to that perfect ideal, well, that led to one of the most important inventions in history. And this brings us to the story of a man named Rudolf Diesel. Back in the 1890s, Rudolf Diesel was completely obsessed with the Carnot cycle. He was convinced he could build a real-world engine that got pretty close to it. His big goal was to make the combustion part happen at a constant temperature. And you know what? He failed. The real-world physics was just too impractical. But, and this is the amazing part, in the process of his ambitious failure in trying to build the perfect engine, he accidentally invented something else, the practical, powerful, high-compression engine that now has his name. Chasing an impossible ideal led to real-world innovation. Now hang on, because there is one last brilliant twist in this story. Carnot cycle is all about getting work from heat flow. But what happens if we flip the whole process on its head? What if we decide to run the cycle backwards? So instead of letting heat fall from a hot place to a cold place to get work, what if we put work in to force heat to go against its natural direction, to make it flow uphill from a cold place to a hot place? It sounds like it should break the laws of physics, but if you run Carnot's cycle in reverse, it becomes totally possible. Take a look. On the left, you've got your standard heat engine. Heat flows from hot to cold, it runs the engine, and you get work out. But on the right, that's the reversed cycle. We're putting work in. And that work powers a system that actively pulls heat out of the cold space and dumps it into the warm space. A machine that makes a cold place colder by making a warm place warmer. Does that sound familiar? It absolutely should, because that is exactly how your refrigerator works, and your air conditioner too. They are fundamentally heat engines running in reverse. The work, that's the electricity powering the compressor, is used to pump heat from a cold place, inside your fridge, to a warmer place, your kitchen. So just think about that for a second. The very same elegant, impossible idea that sets the ultimate speed limit for every car, truck, and power plant is also the exact principle that keeps your food cold. A 19th century thought experiment explains both. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible, fundamental laws like this are hiding in plain sight, just quietly running our entire world?